Hey, Chris,
Hey, Rod.
got a question for you.
Okay.
What do you do when you decide to build a Wimbledon level grass tennis court in the middle of Iowa?
Boy, I don't know. I guess maybe I'd call whoever produced Field of Dreams,
That would be a start.
or maybe we'll just talk to our next guest tonight, and lucky enough, we'll find out.
Hey, this is Rod.
And this is Chris.
We are Unqualified,
And Unsupervised.
the show where two guys try to figure out life after loss with no experts, no scripts, just experience.
We're going to have the unfiltered conversations about hard topics that no one wants to talk about, but everyone should. Coming from a couple of guys who were forced to join a club we didn't want to join. Rod, how's it going? Good to see you.
Hey, yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Oh, yeah? You always have interesting weeks.
Try to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week was interesting.
Okay.
This choral group that I belonged to called Una Voces.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We had our spring concert.
You guys are great, actually.
It is an adult auditioned choir, and
Auditioned means you have to sing an audition in front of people
right
to get in.
like the director,
Like you're applying
Yes,
to the
yes.
director. Yep.
Yep, and you can have a prepared piece, but if you don't, all they wanted to hear is like "Happy Birthday." They just want to know what your tone, your timbre, that type of thing.
Sure. How you hold pitch.
Exactly, and can you match pitch?
Yep.
So that was what we did on Saturday night, and I'm learning that it was a very emotional concert for a lot of people.
Really? Why is that?
We did one by an Italian composer called "Come to Me," and that one held a lot of. That was a piece that I'd introduced to the artistic director. At about the same time, I introduced him to that piece. This piece is about loss,
Of course.
and you come to me in dreams.
Gotcha.
You know, I want to live this life again.
Sure.
It's very emotional, and I think because he was losing his brother to cancer, so we will never sing that piece without thinking about his brother
and his brother
and Jeff.
And Jeff,
So-
yeah, absolutely.
So it was neat.
nice.
I
It's nice
think-
you could share all that together.
yeah, it was great, and
not
music
be alone in it.
music does that, and I think we're going to talk about that at
Absolutely.
some point. How music ties into memory, and how certain pieces
Yeah.
trigger.
Absolutely.
memories,
I mean,
so-
they're finding a lot of value of music to people with Parkinson's, and bringing back memories, and in the neurological state of their being.
So does that help with the neuron connection? Like
I'm not exactly sure the clinical biological explanation of what happens. But they just finding that it is happening.
Oh,
but
that's-
quite often.
I was going to ask you that about that music component with you and Janice.
Mhm, sure.
Like how did that come into play?
I think the way it does with most couples, you know,
Right.
I mean, she played clarinet in high school band, and that was it. She wasn't
Okay.
really, but she loved to go to concerts. She loved live music.
Right?
Our song was "Just You and Me" by Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song. I can't listen to that one now without tearing up.
Oh yeah. Well.
That was our first dance at our wedding
Oh.
too.
Yeah.
So, but we'd connected on that song like very early on in our
Right.
relationship, just after we met each other.
Yeah, there are pieces that did just automatically. Well, this "Come to Me." I was walking through the house the other day, and it came on, and I'm singing it, and I just literally stopped at this one point, and I just started to cry.
Yep.
I'm standing in my house, just there.
Sure. It
and,
happens.
and so I that has been a question that I've asked you about, like what was special music for you, in your relationship. I did create a playlist for Jeff's visitation, and I also have a post Jeff playlist
Oh, sure.
of music that is significant to me and make it yeah.
Sure. Well, I would say the one thing about music is, if there's a piece of music that you have a connection with, somebody or something that's passed.
Right.
When you hear it, a lot of people, they start to cry and they turn it off, and they don't want to hear it. I would say get to a point where you just let it go and just have the cry.
Right.
It's
Right.
the
don't-
it's okay to not be okay.
It's
You're
okay
not
not-
going to be okay while you listen to that.
Right. But
But
you're
it'll get
absolutely
softer every time you listen.
you're
It'll get
absolutely
easier.
right. I mean, it's
So just have that moment and let it flow through.
right. Get through it and
Mhm.
and do it.
Yep, I used to turn, if Just You and Me came on the radio, I would hit the button and change the radio station.
Wow.
And I don't do that anymore.
You can get
And-
through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. First time was tough.
Yep.
But again, it's okay to not be okay. So when I was not okay listening to it and bawling my eyes out, sitting at a stoplight, and somebody's looking at me like, "Oh boy, do we need to call the little white truck and the guys with the white coats?"
Right. Like,
know?
"Are you okay, buddy?" That kind of thing.
Yeah.
No,
but then it got better.
Such a huge trigger. But anyway, that was the week, and we got through it. And
good.
We'll do another concert at Christmas time. So
perfect.
We'll make those connections.
Nice. So what do we got going on?
Today we have a very interesting combination of loss.
Okay.
And on a positive note, a grass tennis court.
A grass tennis court.
Yep. A Wimbledon level grass golf course. Tennis course. Jeez. Stay on it, Rod.
They don't play a lot of golf at Wimbledon.
Not really. No. Different balls.
They are different balls, and they use different things to whack them with. So this tennis court, if I remember right, is kind of a memorial to our next guest, his son's idea, and he really wanted to build this tennis court in this league, and he did so, and now they maintain it as a memorial to him.
So it's going to be an interesting show.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited.
The question of the day was, what do you do when you decide to build a Wimbledon-level grass tennis court in the middle of Iowa?
And we have the perfect person to answer that question. Mark, how you doing? Good to have you here.
I'm good, Chris. Thank you.
So how do you answer the question, Mark? Like what was that decision? Lead us through this.
Well, no, just when you're there, just to answer your question very directly. Well, the first thing I did was to call the USTA and the United States Tennis Association and try to get some assistance. But they're not too interested in grass court tennis, certainly not building a court. And so they weren't much help. So the second choice was to go to a local greenskeeper, ground superintendent at a local golf course. And I got a typical response from all of them. Sounds cool. Good luck with that.
Okay.
And then I struck it rich. I was serving in the Iowa legislature, and I thought, well, why don't I just contact the turf grass department at Iowa State University? And I did, and that's when things started to align for me. Of course, they said the same thing. What makes you think you can build a grass tennis court in your backyard? And I told them, I'm a farmer. It doesn't seem like that impossible. It's just growing grass. That's what corn is, the tallest grass. And they still didn't believe me much, but they did counsel with me, and they told me kind of how to do it. They consulted with me, and that helped a great deal. And secondly, they had bought into it because they had sent a student to intern at Wimbledon.
No way.
A gentleman named Joe Bowser. And so they had a kind of a connection with Wimbledon already. And when I found that news, I said, oh boy. Remember, I'm a state representative, and I was getting letters of reference, and none of that mattered in the end, but it was sure exciting at the time. So that's what I did, and we just didn't give up. And that's how we got started.
So your version of the Field of Dreams, like if you build it, they will come, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, it was kind of always thought of that in the background, but this was never meant to be a destination place. It was just a fun place for my family and friends to play tennis on. And, that came along later when it got national publicity and then much later.
Because it's become a like an international destination, has it not?
Absolutely, sure. People from all over the world like to come, and they're never going to stop. They're never going to stop coming because it's gotten so much attention already that regularly I get people who stop by that said they saw it somewhere 10 years ago and they're still making it. There was a gentleman that stopped today. He was from he is headed to Omaha. He was interested in Frank Lloyd Wright houses, and so I sent him over to the Stockman House in Mason City. And and of course he wanted to see the motel over there, but he specifically came here today from the Field of Dreams.
No kidding.
And so he's going to end up. He's in Mason City now, I suppose. But yeah, we get a lot of visitors.
That's amazing.
It's a well-known story, and people just love it. You don't get to do this anywhere else.
Well, no, not at all. And nobody expects that to be in the middle of Iowa, just like a baseball field.
No. Yeah, right? That's the fun of it.
I mean,
yeah, I mowed it today, and usually that wears me out. Actually, in 1985, I was diagnosed with, excuse me, not 1985, in more like 2015, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so I'm doing quite well, but I mow a lot. Unusual that I would be able to mow the whole thing without sitting down. I did that today.
You mowed the whole thing. Okay. So let's get a visual. You use a push mower for this?
It's a walk behind self-propelled mower, but it weighs 90 pounds, and I have to turn it 80 times, and and then stop it in the middle. Let's see, 160 times, because I go underneath the net with it.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So you don't take the net down to mow.
No, I don't, and that's an even harder job.
Wow.
So anyway, it's a labor of intense love, and for a lot of good reasons we'll talk about, but it's more like getting tedious and hard to do. So I do have some help, and we have some help, but generally that's what their story is going to tell, I hope.
So no, let's launch into that. Tell us the story, because now you've got help. You've recruited someone from ISU.
Then we started construction. Once we figured out we were going to do it.
What's involved there? What's involved with construction? Because it's I don't think it sounds easy, but it's not.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a former cattle lot, and cattle were in there, and then and that was where I did chores. And then I had this vision. Yeah, the whole Wimbledon story happened, and now we built this court, and it's always been a dream, and so we've done that, and so it took a year and a half. Let's see, we stripped all the soil, took away trees, and brought in 16 truckloads of very sandy soil. It's about 2/3 sand. There's drainage tile been installed in it, 5 tile lines, dumps in the ditch. It originally had a watering system. It's froze up a couple of times, but I have a much better system now to water. It's water, you dump a lot of water on it in the year because it's sandy soil and you go pours through it. But it grows great grass. And I've learned through the years about growing grass, and I've killed it off a few times, but it's like grass. It comes back.
Yeah.
And, you just learn stuff. So.
Well, there's just a little bit more about the grass thing, because when we started this conversation initially, you said that you and your son Alex had gone to Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And it was it his idea? Something about the grass.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You had to choose. I'm sure you started with grass, but
well, it was originally it was bent grass that we seeded it to, which is 99% of all the greens in our area have bent grass on them. And that's what I seeded it to. And but Wimbledon uses perennial ryegrass, and so one of about a list of things that Alex had hoped for that we would change about the court. He and I got to go to the Wimbledon Championships in 2015, and then he wrote down several things he wanted to do after that trip, and one of them was to convert the bent grass at our tennis court with the perennial ryegrass. And so after Alex passed, that's what I did.
That's not an easy transition.
Well, yeah.
No, it was made a lot more difficult by the circumstances.
Did you have to start all over? Or how do you do that conversion?
Yeah, that was it was like starting all over. It was a total renovation process, and you had to remove the existing grass, and then we leveled it. I hired a turf company from Des Moines called Des Moines Turf, and they came up and did a lot of the labor, but it was an intense part of work for me, and understand that's the summer that Alex passed.
Right. And you have a diagnosis. 2015 was a big 2015 was a big year.
Time, yes.
Yeah. So the question that's going through my mind, and talk about at what level you feel comfortable. But you're throwing a lot of money at this thing.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And it was, yeah.
Well, but
true.
it's well, okay, like the Field of Dreams, you know, if you build it, they will come. But you're not making any money on it.
Oh, well, yeah, that was never the goal at that time. You know, of course, people donated money.
Oh, they
They
did.
would
Okay.
give you money, but it was like we didn't charge money.
Right,
And
right.
so, you know, Denise's served strawberry and creams to more people than you could fit in.
No, let's be clear.
Oh.
Denise is his wife.
Thousands
Yes.
of them, I'll say that.
And,
Yes.
So
and,
anyway,
and
yeah, it was
strawberries
that.
and cream
But
sounds
that was
delicious.
different. It was all different. And it was such a.
Oh, that's a labor of love. Absolutely. Well, I just wondered because there's a lot of outlay here with this changes, and you know, having companies that understood your dream. I think that's a big thing too. Is like how do you convey this to a company? Like I'm sure they looked at you like you were nuts.
Well, you know, a lot of people did till we built it, and then when it started to get famous, a famous sports writer named John Wertheim read a story for Tennis Magazine, and it appeared in the back issue of the Wimbledon edition.
Okay.
And then it just kind of blew apart because, you know, tennis enthusiasts who subscribed to Tennis Magazine, which was the #1 magazine in tennis at that time,
The Bible.
found out about it.
The
and,
Bible
you
of
know,
tennis.
all of a sudden, people just started dropping by and unannounced, and that.
Were you living on?
We've created something that people kind of like.
Were you living on site then? You were still living in the house,
yes,
okay?
sure.
Because let's go back a little bit, Mark. This is your family's farm,
Yes,
like the farm that you grew up on. It's an ancestral farm.
I did the chores on.
Right,
That's
right.
the same place that I grew up, and my family grew up there, and
So
inherited from my parents.
a lot of history there.
Sure.
Okay, so you're living just like Field of Dreams. You're living on the house, on the home place.
So are people just driving up like at all hours of the day? And
Well, occasionally they do
Weeks.
that. There was several times that we'd come home and people would be playing out there,
No.
and they, you know, when you'd smile and hello, and you know, they'd always answer, well, you know, we came to the door and knock, and nobody was there. But you know, this has been on my bucket list forever. I couldn't resist the chance. I hope it's okay.
Wow.
that's
okay.
amazing.
What do we do at that point in time? You march out there, you know. So anyway, that's kind of the way that it worked. Through the years, I don't know how many thousand guests we've had. I think I estimated for a story one time. I know I took a lot of effort in figuring that out. It was something close to 8,000.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Which is a lot of cars in the yard, and
Right.
And then we started having these tournaments too, and we've done that now for 9 years.
Oh yeah, tell us about the tournaments. What's that about?
Well, yeah, those are after the court was renamed the Alex J. Kuhn Court of Dreams, and we tore it all up, and it was all ready. Well, what are we going to do now? You know, so we decided to host a invitational tournament for kids, and we got some kids primarily from Mason City and Clear Lake, and they played against a group of kids from Rochester, Minnesota, and really good kids. And it was the USTA did support us on that event.
Nice.
And we had a wonderful event. It was like the first ever Alex J. Kuhn Memorial Invitational Tournament. And there was 100 people or more there. And it was just, everybody had such a great time that we started doing similar things. And we have done that now for the past 9 years.
Do you have your own grandstand? Like where the bench?
Yeah, we have a grandstand.
Oh, okay. So people can sit and they can watch these tournaments.
Yeah.
The question that's coming through my mind right now is the wear and tear on this. Like how, I mean, that's a lot of playing, you know?
Yeah. It only stays, you know, it's a grass court. It's one grass court. And so it'll show its wear after a while. And when it breaks down, you do the best you can. There's quite a lot really involved in dealing with it.
I'm sure.
And funguses and all that you learn about. But we do our best. And
I mean, I can't imagine. I can barely take care of my own grass here at the house.
Yeah.
And I pretty much just mow and let the rain water.
That's what Creeping Charlie is all about.
That was the start of a you know that, and we haven't even figured out what we're going to do this year, but we had some kids from Minneapolis. The Como Tennis Club came down last year, and they were great. And actually, we put them up in the house last year. That was a lot of fun. And then they did a little volunteer work out on the court.
There you go. There you go.
They volunteered. They scraped some of the pickets. There are, I think, 678
Wow. So now
custom-made pickets by Alex and Mason and me. Made them all with a jigsaw. And anyway, they lined the court, and so they were sanding them down because it's been 23 years. It's a lot of renovation, and it's looking wonderful. Getting ready for this ESPN special has been a good thing, except it's just worn me to the bone because the court's really looking good.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. That you were just interviewed, and they came on site, took pictures and video and things. ESPN, that is.
Yeah, that'll happen on June 28th when they do their show, but it'll really look nice.
Okay. And what was the main idea and concept behind what they were interviewing about and what their story is?
Well, I've always been friends with a gentleman in the ESPN, an Iowa graduate, University of Iowa, and he's liked our story because it's a great Iowa story, and you know, it's got everything. Got a farmer who you know, converted his cattle feedlot into a grass tennis court. Doesn't that sound a lot like Kevin Costner?
You were hearing voices. You were hearing voices, and you know,
it's a great story. But what we found out that it'll never end, and I can say that with pretty good confidence. Like this gentleman that just came through today. He's not a tennis player, but a lot of fun to put that much joy in somebody's life, you know, and they checked off something on their bucket list.
Go back even a little bit further. Mark, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You've been politically active for a good share of your life. You served in our
legislature. I'm just a local boy that went to high school in Charles City and graduated the year of the tornado that killed 13 of the people in Charles City.
I remember that day. I remember that day.
I went off to college, you know, and it was 1968.
Yep.
You know, we were in a war, and the college campuses became places of protest, and you know, the war was raging in Vietnam, and so it was quite a time to be a college student.
Wow. Yeah. 68 was a pivotal year on many fronts. 68 was huge.
My father had a serious farm accident in 1970. And I came home to plant the corn that year. I had no clue what I was doing. Much like when I started planting bent grass, really. As I look back on it, I just had a very little bit of knowledge about turf grass management when I started this project. But I did it anyway because, you know, it wasn't going to be a problem. But same goes for farming. I knew nothing about planting corn, and I had to plant it that year. And then in the 70s, I did graduate from Iowa State, but Denise and I were married in 1973, and she liked life on the farm with her dog. She had a horse, and anyway, you know, life is good.
Right. She adapted. No,
and so I became a farmer.
Wow.
And then after a while, I got into politics. That's right. After you know, the farm crisis of the 80s.
Did you start as a legislator, or did you start
I was
a supervisor?
I was a member of the county board of supervisors
first,
and then became a legislator for 12 years, and then went back to the county board.
Right.
And served a total of 16 years on the board of supervisors in the county.
Wow.
And finally retired for good.
Good for you.
Do people still talk to you?
Sure. Some of them still think I'm the rep. Sure, some of them still think it, and this isn't a joke. Some of them still think I am.
I'm not surprised.
Well, it never really goes away.
No, you know.
No, it doesn't.
That's fantastic.
That's kind of the history of how I got there, and farmed for 49 years. Managed 28 years of elected public service intermingled in that 49 years.
Oh, wow.
And then retired full-time from farming in 2019. And actually, it was a great time to retire because Alex's two sons were enrolled at Mason City by then, and we wanted to be closer to them.
Right.
And so we bought a house up Clear Lake, and love it over there. My wife loves it there, and so do I.
As you should.
Yes, it's a great city. Rod and I both live here in Clear Lake.
It's fantastic, and we just saw the Killer V's.
Oh, sure.
At the surf. Yeah. The day the music died.
So that's kind of a little synopsis of my life, the high points. Of course, I have a family. Mason's a professor at UNI, and still kind of like two grandsons in the nest.
So let's transition, if you're okay with this. Let's talk about Alex, and he too was a public servant and everything. So you've raised these two boys in Charles City, and they both go on to do these careers. I wasn't sure what Alex's career was. I'd only met him like once or twice. So, talk about that and tell us his story. It's an important story.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. He graduated from high school in the Charles City High School in the year 2000, and attended Iowa State University. Graduated from Iowa State University with a teaching certificate. He had a political science minor, a great communicator, and was doing his student teaching in Houston, Texas, and got a call one day that, hey, Dad had a serious farming accident. Had a serious farming accident.
Oh, wow.
How much longer do you have to do your student teaching down there? And by the way, Dad's ruptured both his quad tendons, and he's in a hospital bed.
Oh.
And sure would be good if you came home. And of course, Alex came home, just like I kind of did when my dad got hurt in the year 2000.
Right. Kind of history repeating itself.
Yeah, no kidding.
And, Alex was everything. It was still during harvest. They had work to do. I'm in a hospital bed on the first floor of the house, and I can't move. I can barely move my legs. I can't walk, and wheelchair bound, and that came much later. But he came home and did an awful lot of work on the farm, and then at night he'd do therapy with me.
Wow, that had to be really frustrating.
It's impossible for me to deal without him. Well, now remember, at that time I'm serving in the legislature. This is 2005 when that happened, and I'm in the legislature, and so somebody's got to take him down there, and so Alex became my clerk that year. And they put me in the back row because he's in a wheelchair.
Right.
He can't walk.
Right.
And so we got to be able to get him to the elevators. Well, we did have a fire alarm. Then the elevator shut. Well, what are we going to do with Representative Kuhn? He's sitting in the back row. And so the Speaker of the House came back to me, Christopher Rance, who he and I worked on a bill after that. It was like an icebreaker. We finally did something together instead of being on opposite sides of the political aisle. But I'm getting way ahead of the story. I said, Chris, well, implement your evacuation plan, thinking that we have one. This is the Iowa House of Representatives.
Right.
There's 100 people in the room other than myself, the clerks. There's students here that are interns.
Right.
Well, they didn't really have one that worked. And the evacuation chairs that were supposed to be installed were still stored in the attic. The state bought 25 of them, and they were to be installed in the Capitol for instances like this, but they never got done. So actually what they did that first day, Alex and 3 other people literally carried me out of the state Capitol to the ground floor in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And that's a crazy story.
Wow. So did they get their policy and their plan updated then after that?
This is politics.
Gotcha.
Nothing's easy. And I was just stunned how hard that was. And it's like, this is no common sense. There are lots of people with disabilities, permanent disabilities, that want to come visit their representatives and senators, and they have every right to do so. And we have to ensure that this building is safe for them.
Right.
Because I'm just a temporary guy in a wheelchair. Well, you thought it was easy. It wasn't. And Alex was in the fight all the way. Alex at that time was clerking for me. And anyway, to make a story a bit shorter, he had developed a pretty good relationship with then United States Senator Tom Harkin, the author of the American Disabilities Act.
Yes.
And Tom Harkin was saying, well, tell Mark this, you should be doing this. And he was feeding us stuff, which was helpful, very helpful. And I was determined by this time that because it didn't happen once, this happened twice.
Oh, man.
Twice over a period of 2 weeks. And they couldn't get me out the second time. They only got me down 3 steps. And so this is just amazing story was coming right full bore in front of us. And it was a political story because it wasn't easy to do. And it involved Democrats and Republicans who didn't want to do anything. And we were just like bulldogs at this stage.
Right.
Well, we're going to do something because this is happening to us. This is real. This is real important.
Exactly.
And Alex was in the mix of it. And later on, we did get it fixed, took a pretty good appropriation. We fixed areas of safe haven where when something like this would happen, if there were people with disabilities who were in the building, they would go there and they'd be hooked up to the Capitol Police, and they would immediately know if do we have to evacuate you right now or not.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and if you do, we're going to come get you. We know how to do that.
It's not just fires; it's tornadoes. It's
anything,
all
it's
sorts of things.
everything.
Yeah.
And so it actually has worked, and that was probably my most satisfying moment in 12 years down there. Worked on a lot of bills, but that one, we really did something. It was large part responsibility with Alex, who by that time had gotten the political blood.
Wow.
And he went to work for Senator Harkin. Alex was employed by Senator Harkin as his mobile van director.
Oh.
And Alex would go to, Plymouth, Iowa, or any place in Iowa and hear from constituents. Kind of sometimes they're not happy with you.
He was the eyes and ears for the senator.
For Senator Sam Harkin, but he'd then, of course, get it back to whoever would be that constituent's caseworker, or he would inform the party, but his job was to be out front,
right,
and communicate with the people, and he was good at that, very good.
That
was
really
rewarding.
Well, but he himself had his own political ambitions. He
sure.
He was on the Mason City City Council. So how did that come about?
He worked for the United Way for a while, and that just put him in touch with a lot of people in the greater Mason City area community, of course. You'd hook up with all the business people, you'd hooked up with all the people who were concerned about the good of Mason City in the area.
Right. Right.
And so from there, he got a job working for Hinkle Construction. He was a front person who would go to places and make proposals.
Oh, sure.
Alex made a proposal that got Mason City the River City Grant Award back before the motel that's finally being built was a thought. Alex was a member of that city council, and he was the person that made that presentation. So he was very good at that, and people liked him and trusted him. So it wasn't a surprise to me that he got into political service, and he won his first election at large council person, and he won re-election to that, and I think he had higher ambitions for sure.
But then things changed. Something happened and things changed.
Well, there's a host of things. What we're ultimately talking about is Alex taking his own life tragically, and that's a hard answer to formulate because it seems so impossible to us at the time.
Well, and it still is impossible
going on in Alex's life that were pretty stressful at that time, and I guess some of that you really don't understand ever.
Well, but that's a grief on multi levels. It's like not only is it tragic for him, but it's as a parent, we're conditioned. We die first, we go first, and we're prepared for that. But your children are not supposed to predecease you. And so I imagine that's a very harsh reality to face.
It certainly is, especially in this way, to have died by suicide. And so, just couple back a little bit to that whole discussion about the court, and understand that the court was served as a way, as a that was a method that was cathartic for me to an extent. Nonetheless, it was a very tough time.
Well, I'll jump in here, because what I'm thinking is that by after he died, I imagine you threw yourself into this project of the court, and putting it together and making his dream come alive.
There was some of that thought to it, of course. It was just something to do. It was hard to.
Did it help you?
Oh, of course, it did. It wasn't without problems,
right?
It was so time consuming, but of course, in the court, that's why the court means so much to us, and why we want to keep it open, because this story is not the first time this is going to be told.
Right.
This has been told by Wimbledon. This is going to be on ESPN and all these things that I have talking about, because suicide is something we want to do something about.
Right.
And if we don't ever talk about it, how are we going to let people know that, there's people there that can help you?
What advice?
If we don't want to reach out to them in a way that is some help to them, that's just one thing I really believe, and that's one part of it. That's why we're open to talk about this story. It's not easy to talk about that.
That's why it's comfortable.
Well, that's kind of why we have this show, is to talk about these things that everybody's experiencing something, and nobody wants to talk about those things because it's hard. But we need to talk about them so people can hear they're not alone.
Exactly.
And that maybe the way they're thinking about dealing with that, maybe somebody else is too. And that maybe is okay.
That part is very true.
So what advice, Mark, would you pass on to other parents or other people who've lost a loved one to suicide? What's your takeaway? What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I know a great help to me was the local suicide survivors group in Mason City. They were a great help to me, and I went to them, and they counseled me for a couple of years, really. And they were, of course, just so saddened because they knew Alex.
Sure.
And Alex had been to their meetings as a member of the city council. And Alex was the last person in the world that you'd think this would ever happen to. But so that was one thing I would suggest, is don't be afraid to reach out to them, anyone, especially like that.
Yeah, what's one of the things we talk about too
is for your own self, it means a great deal. You just you hold on to what all the good things that you can remember about that person, and there are so many that you just don't know where to start.
Right.
And then also the belief that we'll be together again someday. I believe in dreams. I'm a dreamer. And I follow dreams, and I dream that I'll see him in my dreams. I know I will, and so
I believe that.
I do too.
After this life is over, it's not the end.
Right?
I don't think so. I think we'll be together again.
Well, this is why I believe you, because I made Jeff, when Jeff was getting sick, I made him promise that he would come and visit me, and believe it or not, he has visited me twice. And it is always in dream form. And why I knew it was him was because we usually don't remember our dreams, but I remember these two incidences. I mean, down to the color. Right. I mean, they were so vivid.
In vivid detail.
Yeah, the vivid. I haven't forgotten it. I can tell you what happened in each one. So I agree with that. And I believe that Alex will, in his time, reveal himself to you in a dream form. Absolutely. And I took great comfort in that when Jeff did, because I now know he's okay. I do.
Sure. No. And it makes me really happy that you found a group and found someone to get some help, because most people won't reach out. I didn't when I lost my wife. I didn't at first, and I thought it was weakness, and I thought, oh no, I can handle this. And I've discovered strength is going out and asking for help and looking for help, because that's hard to do.
It's okay to it's okay to not be okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So because I my recollection of Alex, he was tall, Very
handsome,
very handsome.
Kennedy looks.
Yeah, he was
Had
very
nice hair,
handsome.
too.
He said that.
These are all comments that people have told me. It's pretty obvious he was a good-looking guy, and a great trust builder. I mean, you could believe him.
Right, he had
stood up for
credibility.
what he believed. I think a lot of that came from, when you're thrown into a statewide situation, and that he learned a lot from that.
Right.
And
Right.
it's, if you want to be in the public eye, sometimes you need to make a stand that you believe in, and he'd done that himself, and
Right.
that was part of his experience on the city council. I know more than one issue, in fact.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, having done public service myself, you're right. You have to take a stand, and I was going to be 50% right on any given vote, And people are like, "Well, Rod, you voted this way." Yes, there was new information. I thought you were going to go the other way, but I went went with the way I did. There's new information, and it's ongoing all the time. So you're going to please 50% of the people in any given vote.
But you have a responsibility to listen to all of the information.
Absolutely.
And make decisions based on the information and not based on the emotions of what people want.
Right. Because
or what they think they want.
Well, in hindsight, many people came up and said that was the way to go because they learned it, and then they learned too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now that makes sense. Yes. Yeah.
Sure. When Alex died, you were also diagnosed with Parkinson's about at the same time. Were you right?
Just a little before. He knew
Just a little before, yep. So, I mean, you have all this hit you at the same time. What was your process and the way you dealt with all of that hitting at the same time?
Well, the Parkinson's at that time wasn't much of an issue. It didn't seem like it to me. I don't think I changed much.
Okay.
Actually, all the physical activity that I was doing was very helpful for me. Kept me better off for a longer period of time. And all the rest of that was just it takes a long time to continue to move forward when you lose a loved one like your son. It's just very hard. So you do the very best you can. And in this case, that meant helping take care of our grandsons. And so, that's been a main focus of our lives for this time, because we've been fortunate they've been able to live with us.
Yeah, they ultimately moved in with you, and and you became parents again.
Well, yes, in many ways.
Well, Denise is funny because she said, "Well, I made breakfast the other day." Then I said, "You became a mom again," and she's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I did."
Yeah,
comes with the territory,
So that's great.
But you're giving them stability, which is important.
Sure. Yeah, they're great sons. They're great sons of Alex, and they're doing a great job.
No doubt. Right. Well, they have good examples.
Exactly. Which makes a huge difference.
So here you are. You're the patriarch of this family, and a lot of this burden falls to you to guide everyone else through it. So, what advice would you offer? The head, Chris lost his wife to cancer, and all of a sudden he felt it was important to take care of everybody else. And did you feel that very same sentiment?
Well, certainly, yes. I think that's pretty well described, and you just do the very best you can for everyone you can. And that's kind of been a goal, and perhaps it doesn't work for everybody, but for me, it's this legacy, this life legacy of this tennis court. It's kind of our triumphs. It's also our lowest moments. So you want to make sure that legacy goes on. And so don't be afraid, I guess, that perhaps something good will come of this to you someday.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps something of all this that you're working towards will amount to good. And don't think that just because, you suffered a terrible loss that you can't have faith and you can't have a positive attitude.
The sun will come up.
This story, though, I'll leave you with this story.
All right.
But because something's good can happen when you don't know. About a month ago, I got a email like I do from people who want to come play, typical in many ways. But it said, I don't believe in consequences. I don't believe in coincidences. That was the title, which was an odd title. And it came from a neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic. And he works in the area of motor function rehabilitation for people with motor diseases like Parkinson's. And he does surgery on people who deep brain stimulation and all the latest techniques that they can do to help you out. And he told me he had seen the Steve Hartman's program on the road. And on Steve Hartman's, we appeared with him twice. And the second one basically told the story. Here's this guy, grass tennis court. Now he's getting old. He's got Parkinson's, wants to keep it open. And he saw that and emailed me. He said, I'm operate a ham radio. That's how I found Wimbledon in 1960. It was on a ham radio with my grandfather.
Kidding.
He said, I operate a ham radio. I fly a drone. I love Wimbledon tennis. And then I found out about your story. And then I couldn't believe it when it said in the end of the story that you have Parkinson's. And he wanted to come make come play. But more, he said, what he wants to do is make a house call. They want to make this team of his, of surgeons at the Mayo Clinic, who this is what they do all the time, want to make a house call to see me for my Parkinson's. And of course they want to play tennis here. And so you never do. Wow. Yeah.
That's incredible.
We do that. That sounds great. So on June 20th, they're coming and they're going to look me over.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I think,
That's crazy.
Probably I'll be a referral patient to the Mayo Clinic.
That's fantastic.
And, so there you go. So that's why maybe something good's come of something someday.
Absolutely. That's a great story.
Maybe there's something out there that, that brings you hope and faith and happiness. That's what you keep searching for.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this podcast and this project.
Right.
It's a way to take Rod and I's grief and experience and maybe do something positive with it.
Yeah,
the reaction so far has been like, you do what?
Yeah.
And everybody's going through, you said it earlier, Chris, everybody's going through something, and grief affects everybody on some level.
Absolutely.
The loss of a pet or a sibling or a parent or grandparent. It's universal.
Right. And no one really knows how to deal with it until it happens to you.
Exactly.
And at that point in time, you still don't know how to deal with it. You just figure it out as you go.
Yeah. So, it happens. It's an avenue for that. Final story. So this guy today that's now currently in Mason City looking at the Stockman House or over at the motel and hotel. And so he says he watched me mow because I had to get over here to this tennis meet. And he's watching me mow. And he says, afterwards, we went into the Queen's box. I gave him some water. I showed him some of the stuff. And he says, you remind me so much of my father when you were mowing. And then he told me the story about his father who should have probably quit mowing before he did, but he wanted to so much because that was important to him. And so we had this story about his father, and he was telling me about his dad who died of ALS.
Wow.
And so that came out, and it was like, here we are, two guys that just met each other. He just pulls up at the yard, and now we're sharing a pretty personal moment, and it was nice.
Yeah,
the connections that come out of these experiences is incredible.
So the lesson is about connecting. Yeah,
and being kind.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it. I know there's more to your story, and you will be probably invited back for another time. Chris laughs at me when I invite, because I've enjoyed every one of our guests, and I do want to have them
invited
back.
every one of them back.
I've invited every one of them
Which
back.
they do. They all have great stories.
Well, because after they get done talking to us, they come up with more things. It's like,
They do.
hey, I should have brought
Just
this
like we
up.
do.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But Mark, thank you very much for telling us your story and being brave enough to tell us about Alex and his legacy, and what a wonderful story that is, and what a wonderful legacy that is. And I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he was a great guy. And thank you for telling us your story.
Yes, thanks, Mark. It was a great story.
All right. Good day.
Wow, Rod, what a story.
That was a fantastic story.
You know,
So what's your takeaway? What's your takeaway from all of that? There was a lot of stuff there.
There is, you know, and he kind of did what we did. He threw himself into a project. He threw himself into that tennis court, the Wimbledon tennis court, which I think is great, because that is something that is now memorializing Alex.
Yes.
And it's serving a greater good for a lot of people who seem to love that.
Yes.
You know? You know, my other takeaway is suicide is something that's very prevalent. A lot of people out there dealing with it. And it's
you experienced a lot of that as an EMS person.
Well, yeah, I was on a lot of calls, on a lot of attempts and successes both. You know, and the one thing I figured out for myself that I believe is, you know, suicide is not the coward's way out. Some people say that.
There's a misconception, like, weren't they selfish? What a coward they were.
Yeah, exactly. But I've seen some of the things people have done to themselves. I could never do that. That took a lot of courage to do that to themselves. But more importantly, I think that just means something is so messed up cognitively, neurologically.
Right.
You know, there's a mental illness going on there. There's something that needs to be treated. You know, and people, I mean, we're starting to get to the point where people are believing mental illness is an actual illness that can be treated and can be, you know, in most cases fixed or at least dealt with so that you can still live a happy, productive life. But you know, I used to hear that a lot of times, especially from the older guys on departments when I'd be on these calls.
Oh, kind of like, old world thinking.
Yeah. Oh, he took the easy way out. Took the car. I'm like, that is not an easy thing to do. No matter what. Right. You know, and I guess the other thing is if you didn't see it in your loved one or your friend, that's not your fault. Right? Do you think people don't? They feel guilty because they didn't see it. Well, absolutely. But people feeling that don't always let on. Well, no, people. Yeah, I think that's very true. That people who are thinking about suicide, they're very good at hiding it. Right. They're very good at hiding it, and you're not going to know it, you know, until it's too late. And some people, do make attempts, and they do make it obvious that that's what they're thinking about. Right. You know, and in actuality, when that happens, it's kind of a good thing because then you can get them help. You can step in and help. There is help because there is. Yeah, because Mark talked about that. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of different groups. Even if you're thinking about it, even if you have an inkling that somebody you know is 988 is a phone call, a number you can call for Suicide Crisis Helpline. At any time of the day, it's completely anonymous, you know, completely non-judgmental. And, you know, you can get help for yourself or for somebody that you know, or they can help you figure out how to help somebody. You know, that's good to know. The 988, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, that's good. Yep. So I've got a question for you. Sure. Because usually, I usually think that that day life didn't make sense to them. Mm-hmm. Is that an accurate statement? You know what? I don't know. I mean, because I've been there. But you know what I mean. I had a plan at one time to do that to myself, and I just didn't go through with it. You know, I realized that. That's not something that's not how I need to handle this. But I think a lot of people in that situation, they're so distraught and the mental illness is taken over to the point where you don't have the thought of, no, I shouldn't do this. This is exactly what I need to do. This is the only way to fix this problem. But you turned it around. I did. Okay. That's why I know. Right. You can get help. Bend to the edge. Yeah. Because it's very dark. It is very dark. You know, I mean, it's like, and you can't, I would imagine you can't believe that you're even thinking those thoughts. Right. And actually, I'm going to have to warn some of my friends and family about this episode because none of them know this. I have never told anyone that, and nobody had a clue. And that's okay. That's what I'm getting at because, I mean, I think there are
sometimes there are signs when people are giving things away or their moods change. I think there are some signs.
There are signs, but they're generally very subtle.
Right.
And if you don't know them, you're not going to pick up on them.
Right.
And also, they're probably subtle enough. Like, if I had thrown off anything, any kind of sign, I was also still in the middle of grieving for Janice and all of that. So they would have just thought it was part of that.
Right.
And wouldn't have thought anything of it, and nor should they have, because it wouldn't have been anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
And most of the time it's not. It's hard to see, they're usually really subtle.
There are, you're getting back to that. It takes a lot because there are different forms of suicide.
Oh, many different.
And I recalling one a few years ago. There's an actual technical name for it when they set themselves on fire.
Oh, yes, there is.
And I can't remember. And I knew a person that did this.
Oh, wow.
And when I think about what's involved with that, because on her computer, they found all this information that she was doing research on it. So it took a little bit of time. It took a little bit of, she meant to do that. And the concept of what that is, because I looked it up myself, like what's involved with that.
It's called self-immolation.
Yes.
Is the word.
And this was, I just can't imagine being that would be it. That would be the process.
And no, we can't. Nobody who's not done it,
right,
or thought about it can. But that's also where I go back to. It's not the coward's way out.
Absolutely not. No. You know that something's happening.
Something is so wrong in their head.
Well, that's why I ask about. Is it accurate to say that life didn't make sense that day?
Probably. I'm sure that's the case for some of people who do that.
Right.
It could be something completely different for others.
See, I would be curious. I would love to have feedback from our listeners on this. Like,
yes,
tell us the experience, and so maybe we can help other people be more aware of the signs of like what was leading up to that. What should we be looking for as their friend, their loved one? What could we see?
Right.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, and I wish I could say so because I know nobody saw it in me.
Right. So
because I have people in my life who would have done something, who would have said something.
Right.
If they had seen that.
But maybe you didn't want them to.
I didn't. Of course I didn't.
Right?
No.
Because you're aware of it, but you didn't tell them on purpose.
Right. And that's why most people who say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this person did that. I can't believe my son, my daughter, my friend, did this."
Right.
Because they're not going to let you know.
I did hear one statistic. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I heard it once that with men, women take longer. Like their process about this is longer, but men, it's because of like temporary depression or temporary circumstances.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd like to know more about that. Like
sure.
What's the difference between a woman's process versus a man's process?
That would be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
No. I had a process based on knowing EMS responders and how they respond and look for people and stuff. So
you had that angle.
I did.
Wow. Well,
I did. And
thank you.
Maybe we'll do that on another. We'll do that on another show.
Thank you for not doing that.
We're running out of time today.
All right.
So, but
very
anyway,
interesting.
988. If you or someone you know, dial the damn number.
Absolutely.
Because
reaching out is important.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Yes.
To reach out. So, let us know your stories on Chris at forwardwellness4caregivers.com. Keep reaching out. Love hearing the stories, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Absolutely. Hey, Chris, I think we had another good show tonight. I think we nailed it. I think we knocked it right out of the park.
Yeah, Rod, this is our circus and we are our monkeys.
This is so true. I'm really looking forward to the next show. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I am too, and I thought you were figuring that out, so I guess maybe I'll help you with that.
Let's talk about that. Absolutely. But I'm really looking forward to whatever we talk about. It will be hopefully it'll be helpful. and
it'll be fun.
It will be fun.
So
yes,
do
as
not
fun
miss
as
it.
fun as grief can be.
Exactly. So do not miss next week.
No.